Hey, all right, shalom, shalom. We're going to start off by giving all praise and honor and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakah, Kodash. Want to say and give double honors to the apostles and the bishop elders, a great millstone, for teaching us his word in truth and sincerity and for ruling well. And salutations to the elect, Lord willing, we're some of those men and women that believe in fear in the name of Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, patiently waiting for the day of our salvation. Hey, I'm the brother Gabar Yahweh. Patiently waiting for the day of our salvation. Hey, I'm the brother Gabar Yahweh. Patiently waiting for the day of our salvation. Hey, I'm the brother Gabar Yahweh. Patiently waiting for the day of our salvation. You might have to speak up just a little bit, bro. Again, hey, I'm the brother Gabar Yahweh from GMS Hawaii. And it's the brother, we got the brother Kahan.
Shalom.
Khan, and we here to do the lesson. The title of this lesson is I'll have another chair. Yeah. Today's lesson is entitled "Slavery Still Exists in America, Hidden by the Fine Print." And it's really not any fine print. It's the 13th Amendment, right? Slavery, as we knew it, chattel slavery was reestablished as penal punishment and captivity in America, right? And so you have this guy right here, this Uncle Tom, like this coon, this guy right here, he's some type of politician, and you're going to hear what he says. And this man says that slavery is over, but it came out this week in a court case. These men were accused of killing, well, they're convicted of murdering a man in Florida, and the guys are still relatively young. And so one of the guys, his defense was, he shouldn't be put to death. He should be given life without parole. And so they brought in a former warden of the Florida prison system, and he basically was trying to coerce the jury to say, look, this guy, he's young. He hasn't. Well, you're going to hear it. He's young, and he has something called sweat equity, right? Sweat equity, right? Because there's equity. Esau's pulling all the equity out of us in this world. And on top of that, we're in captivity as a nation. This is not our homeland, right? These ways that these heathens have taught us are not our ways, right? We're subject unto them. So that's captivity, right? So that's slavery. You got it, bro. Bring it up.
Jeremiah 50 and verse 33 says, "Thus saith Yahweh by Shem Yahushua, power of hosts, the children of Israel and the children of Judah were oppressed together, and all that took them captives held them fast. They refused to let them go."
Bring it up.
Right. And when we speak about, Esau still practicing slavery, man, it's mostly towards our people. The jail system. What is it that they call it?
The prison industrial complex.
It's designed to keep the so-called Negro, Latino, and Native Americans in a loop of serving time, getting out, not being able to get a job or get back on their feet and resort to crime, and then back again into the prison system, and which, as you're gonna hear, is free labor pretty much for Esau.
And that's called a recidivative rate, right? They have something called a recidivative rate, right? What does a recidivative rate mean? It says derivative rate. Right? You got something called a recidivism, right? Recidivism, right? Is recidivism rates the rate at which people return to prison are a key, albeit high, statistic in the U.S. criminal justice system. Data shows that within 3 years of release, nearly 2/3, 66% to 68% of former prisoners are rearrested, and over 50% are reincarcerated. So here it is, and that's because what they do is they basically take your ability to live, and then so they keep you in this state of chattel. So you really got to live on the fringes of life to make it, like Jake had to do when we got out of captivity. I mean, when we got out of chattel slavery in America. So they create this recidivism rate to keep you back, like the Quan said, to keep you going back and forth in the system. You got it, bro.
I wrote recidivism rates in U.S. prisons for Negroes and Latinos. It says blacks and Hispanics individuals in the U.S. prisons experience higher recidivism rates than white offenders.
Yep.
Research shows that after 5 years, research shows that 5 years after release, 81% of black offenders and 75% of Hispanic offenders are rearrested.
And that's because they're the children of Israel, right? It's not only because of the curses, but our enemies, they overly oppress our people, right? To keep them in that loop, to keep them in that loop of prison. It's a continual workforce. So whenever they have a turnover, and that's why they give lengthy time sentences in prison systems, particularly to our people, because what they really truly want is you back in slavery, right? And now they want to put you in a digital slavery, not just the people that's in prison or in the military, but even the average citizen. Now you're gonna be in the digital slavery. So slavery is here. Don't listen to these big musclehead fools. You got it, bro.
It says other data shows a 5-year rearrest rate of 79% for black prisoners and 67% for Hispanic prisoners.
And that's a high rate. So they already guarantee that you'll be back in prison, because they'll put you on probation or parole. In the slightest mishap, you're right back in there, right? If you want a tether, right? Because it's all incarceration, because there's different levels of incarceration. So they be calling you on your tether, asking you all these questions: where you at, what you doing.
They don't let you leave the state that you're in.
That's prison. That's slavery, right? You couldn't leave the plantation unless you had paperwork to get off of that motherfucker, bro. If you got caught outside the plantation, it was a problem, right? That's what that was. So you got Jake here that so-called make it in the society, but how they make it? They got to get that precept where it says seek is not why seek is love, why trimmest thy ways to seek love. You got Jake out here trimming their ways and seek love to be accepted by the so-called white man, and they say shit like this.
On the left too, as we shift toward this reinvigorated talk about Jim Crow, the past of this country, and as someone who is a direct descendant of a slave, as someone whose great-great-grandfather was born on a plantation, I can assure you, slavery is over. Jim Crow is dead. When I go anywhere, I don't see any white-only signs. I don't. I promise you.
So what? That was in the South. That was something to keep Jake segregated, to let you know if you could read, and you didn't even have to read. It was just known knowledge. Hey, Edomites go over here, Negroes and Latinos go over here.
Even now, they still have those signs. It's just that they're not literal signs, but they're economic barriers.
Yep.
That you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, you Israelites, you can't enter, man.
Yep.
There's golf clubs that just entry fees are $1 million.
Yep.
How are you gonna enter there? You cannot.
And
that's whites only or heathens only.
Yeah, you got to be invited, and they ain't inviting you, right? Even if you're a bootlicking Negro, they still ain't inviting you, man, because you don't see whites only signs. You think Jim Crow is over. There's something called Jim Crow by Another Name. There was a good book, Jim Crow by Another Name, right? It was written by, I want to say, right, Jim Crow by Another Mass Incarceration. Yeah, it's about Alex. I remember her, right? Michelle Alexander, the new Jim Crow, mass incarceration in the age of color blindness, right? Michelle Alexander argues that the U.S. criminal justice system acts as a contemporary system of racial control, rebranding racial discrimination as a felon label. It details how mass incarceration creates permanent second-class status for Black men, replacing traditional Jim Crow laws. So you have a whole system that's set up to basically keep you at the bottom. And don't look at the few guys that you think rose to the top, because you don't know how he got there. This dude is compromised. He loves the so-called white man. That's the reason why he don't got a beard on his face. He don't got a mustache. He put the razor to his head. right? He got the dick on his neck, the so-called tie. He got the suspenders because he loves the so-called white man and his system. So this man will say things like, slavery doesn't exist because what? I don't see a Jim Crow. I don't see a white only sign. Well, you don't got to see whites only signs no more. Well, you got other signs, right? No felons allowed. We don't hire felons. And automatically, if you're a so-called black Latino man going for a job, they automatically think you're a felon. They're gonna run your record, and yep, you got it, bro.
High credits, all that stuff.
Yeah, your credit score, all of that shit. Your credit score is a racial too. You can look that up. Do credit or is racial bias? Does racial bias play a role in credit scoring in America? Right.
I can assure you, slavery is over. Jim Crow is dead. When I go anywhere, I don't see any white-only signs. I don't. I promise you. I am a black man that represents a white majority district in Texas. The great-great-grandson of a man born on a plantation stands before you today as a proud conservative Republican.
And they want you to believe that, look, you can make it. I'm a great-great-grandson of a proud slave. He's proud to be a slave. That's why the scripture says this. Right? Before you get that, it's the book of Isaiah. Is it Isaiah? I mean Jeremiah 2:15. Jeremiah 2:15. It said 2:14. Is Israel a servant? Is he a homeborn slave? Why is he spoiled? Because we're not supposed to be that. We're not servants to these heathens, and we're not slaves to these heathens. But why are we spoiled? Because we broke the law, such commandments of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua. Therefore, our enemies, they taken over us. They oppress us. The young lions roared up upon him. Who are the young lions? Esau and other nations. And yelled, they made his land waste. His cities are burned without inhabitants, man. So, Jake think that like being a servant and a slave is, man, I represent a so-called white district, right? I'm a conservative black man, a former slave. So he's like the what you call that? The story, he's like the kid that could, or the kid that did. Right, out of all these millions of so-called Negroes running around here, and this dude gets because he over a so-called white district, which they're trying to get this nigga up out of there anyway, right? He thinks that it's all good. Slavery is over. We won. We don't need reparations. Look at me. I'm a senator. I'm a district leader. I'm a councilman. You got something, bro?
No, bro, you actually right on it.
Yeah.
I wrote off is racial bias, or does racial bias play a role in credit scores in America? And it says, yes, racial bias, and more significantly, the legacy of structural racism play a major role in credit scores in America. Despite the reporting agencies not using race as a data point, studies show that Black and Latino consumers are more likely to have low credit scores and no credit history, often due to the historical disinvestment, housing segregation, and the income disparities that are baked into the algorithm.
Yeah, and which is part of the curses. You shall be the tail, and he shall be the head. The stranger that is among you shall come up above you, and thou shalt come down what? Very low. So here it is. They don't need the whites only sign. The brother just read it. Get credit. Even if you got so-called good credit or you paid your debts on time, right? Your shit's still gonna be lower than the Edomite with the same type of credit profile. There's people be trying to get 800 or 700 score, which really is a medium score, right? Because they got let's see this. How high does credit score goes?
It's like, they have places where you go around in these condos, well, at least I know here in Waikiki, I'm sure it's in other cities throughout the US. You have to have a high credit, like 750 and above.
Yeah.
And then you have to have triple the income of the rent. So it's like, is that not a fucking sign for you?
Yeah, that's a sign for you because the majority of Jakes don't got that. Hell. Majority of Jakes got a 32 credit score, a 400, a 500, a 6.
They ain't making that type of money.
Nah.
These condos looking into the ocean, and Ala Moana and shit, Bro, I worked in some of them, and they're paying like $25,000 rent. So imagine, bro.
A
Like,
nigga don't make that in a year. If he lucky.
You're gonna have to make that 3 times in a month. So you're gonna have to be making like
75,000 a month.
month just to qualify to rent it.
Yeah. It says the highest credit score possible is 850 for standard FICO and Vantage score models. However, specific types of credit like auto loans and credit cards, some lenders use specialized models that can reach up to 900. A perfect score is incredibly rare, held by less than 2% of people, but you don't need it to get the best interest rates. Lenders generally consider any score above 760 to 800 to be exceptional, right? And the average Jake don't have that. Let's look at the average credit score.
This one goes right into it.
God.
It says, persistent disparities. A 2017 Urban Institute analysis found that in 38 of 60 cities, there was a 100-point or greater median credit score gap between predominantly white and non-white areas.
I got it right here. It says, as of 2024-2025, the average credit score for Black Americans is approximately 627 to 677, with studies highlighting a roughly 100-point gap compared to white Americans. The average Edomite credit score is 730. Reports indicate 44% of Black adults have subprime scores. That's below 620. This is where you get, so even at above 620, you're gonna get okay, yeah, you got prime, that's the one they want. Then you got subprime, it's below prime. Then you got subprime. So it's like it's crazy. It says reflecting significant racial wealth and credit disparities. The median score in many reports, the median credit score for Black individuals is cited around 639 and 627. Racial disparities. The average score for white Americans is often listed around 734, while Asian Americans have an average of 745. Young adult disparities. In the major Black communities, young adults from 25 to 29 have median scores of 582 and 687. In the majority, 582. This is from a 25-year-old to a 29-year-old, compared to a 687 to the majority of white community. So here it is, this fucking devil, he not even paying his bills on time, and he still got a 687, right? The persistent credit score gaps are consistent from young adulthood with roughly 90 to 100 point gap remaining stable from age 30 to 60, right?
Crazy. You put that into like, let's say a home mortgage. That shit is crazy. The percentage that you get for the loan at a 500 or at 600
the
is
rate is
way
crazy.
higher, bro. Like double, 2.5 times of that of 700 and above.
Yep.
So imagine you as a so-called Negro Latino trying to buy a house, you're paying almost 3 times the price of the house that when an Edomite buys that shit. That's crippling.
Yeah.
They're crippling you through that.
Well, even Malcolm X said that he'll pay double. The house slave will pay double to live in the house that's next to him. I mean, just to live next to the white man. He'll take double what the house costs just to say I live in a nice neighborhood. Right? The dude probably married to an Edomite, and this nigga a chocolate-covered Edomite.
Great-grandson of a man born on the plantation stands before you today as a proud conservative.
That's victory. A great-great-grandson of a slave. Let me see.
Great-great-grandson of a man born on the plantation stands before you today as a proud conservative.
He's proud. He's proud because he made it off the plantation into a higher office.
Republican from Texas, as a believer and follower in Christ, and as a
believing in a white Christ. He loves this guy. He believes in this guy. Type in Christ. This is what he believes in. He's a believer and follow the white man. The white man's got a God complex. He loves this guy. He's a follower of this guy. He ain't nothing but an Uncle Ruckus, bro. Telling you that slavery is over.
Believer in what this country can be and as a believer in what this country can be if we allow equality for not just Muslim Americans, not just Buddhist Americans, but also Christian Americans like yourself. God bless you, young man. You give me a lot of hope for the future of this country.
You got that white shit on your fucking lips.
Thank you for having the courage to yield back the remainder of my time. I'm seeing a lot of talk.
Disgusting. This nigga disgusting, bro. Let me show you sweat equity, bro. Let's tell this nigga he gonna get some sweat equity. Yeah. That nigga, you go to prison, you go into slavery. It's the worst type of sweat equity you can have, man. Niggas want equity in a company. Niggas want equity, home equity, equity in my car, if that's available. But sweat equity, bro, you ain't getting nothing for that.
Like that, do you think that the prison would benefit from him in a work capacity if he were sentenced to life without parole?
I say yes, with my experience, not only just in classification, but as former warden and even as a jail administrator. He's someone that's young, he's healthy. In reality, we need that labor, we need that sweat equity, and we will put him out there to work because we do have an aging prison population, jail administration. We have that. So we put these young individuals to work and get some sweat equity out of them since they are young and actually can do the work.
Damn.
Yeah, sweat equity. And that's what you niggas running into when you go, you want to be a YN, you want to be a thug, you want to kill people indiscriminately, but then beg for your life, right? Even though the nigga that they killed, he was a complete demon, right? But guess what? The Lord used 4 demons to kill one. That's how many demons it took just to take this nigga down, including using a demonic demon woman to set it all up, to orchestrate the whole thing and make the play. And these niggas just went up in there and shooting. These niggas don't give a fuck. His co-defendants, them niggas just sitting there like whatever. It's 2 of them, 3 of them all together. And they just sit there like whatever. They playing in the courtroom, smiling, laughing. Because these niggas, they don't care. Some niggas just love slavery. Like some niggas just love to be locked up because that's what you're going to be. Chained up every damn day with a bunch of men, right? Now you're never going to have no pussy ever again, right? You ain't going to get no woman unless you fucking one of them guard bitches. And that's going to be few and far in between. You know what I'm saying? And he locked up with a bunch of niggas getting sweat equity out of you for free. Because that's what they don't get paid anything. So this shows you that slavery still exists. How do we know? The 13th Amendment. The 13th Amendment ratified December 6, 1865. The 13th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, which Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, and George Bush all said that the Constitution is just a piece of paper. That's all it is. So they don't hold fast to that shit. The 13th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution formally abolished slavery and involuntary servitude throughout the United States, except as punishment for a crime. So all these prisons are what? Involuntary servitude. They're slavery. Whether they want to admit it or not, it is slavery. Because what happens to you, they provide your clothes, your food, and your shelter. And you're in a cage. They put you in a cage. You're inside of a cage, right? You're eating subprime food. You got the subprime credit. You got a subprime credit. And now you got subprime food. And you're surrounded by other men that's locked up in slavery for crimes that they so-called committed. How many men are locked up right now in these facilities for a crime they didn't commit? And then you got to wait like 4, 5, 40 years to hope like somebody gonna have mercy on you and get you up out of there.
They even had weren't they complaining the jail system talking about that there wasn't enough prisoners or something like that? I mean, I've seen something like that. Yeah, it says reports of prisons complaining about not having enough prisoners often stem from private prison companies or facilities operating under contractual agreements that rely on minimum occupancy, not necessarily a lack of crime or general occupancy. Or minimum occupancy contracts. Some private prisoners contracts include clauses that guarantee a minimum number of inmates. If a state doesn't provide enough inmates, the state may still have to pay, as if the prison is full. But yeah, so they're counting, on Jake being incriminated to what? To make that money, man. That's why we read the scripture that he refused to let them go. Yep. This is why Esau goes out there just looking for Jake. Just give me any reason, and I'll put you in jail. And that's why they don't show no mercy on Jake, man.
Mm-hmm. So it says, it liberated approximately 4 million enslaved people, marking a critical end to legalized slavery, followed by civil war and serving as the first of the Reconstruction Amendments. Right. So it abolished slavery only unless you duly convicted. Right. But at what rate are Black and Latino people convicted for crimes in America? Right? It says Black and Latino people are convicted of crimes and incarcerated at significantly higher rates than white people. In the U.S., while making up roughly 13% of the U.S. population, Black, and they want to basically say that because of this, that all Blacks are inherently, Blacks and Latinos are inherently violent and criminal, or prone to criminality, because according to them, the rates are highly significant over white people. In the U.S., while making up roughly 13% of the U.S. population, Black Americans represent 37% of the prison population. 1 in 3 Black boys and 1 in 6 Latino boys born today can expect to be sentenced to prison, compared to 1 in 17 white boys. And Esau commit most of the crime.
3 times.
You know what I'm saying? 3 times less. But our people with more. Why? Because it's a slavery mentality, the slavery conditioning. It's the slavery aspect of prison industrial complex of America. It's just slavery by another name. Right? Don't let some Tom. And then on top of that, even beyond the prison system, America is a prison. America is set up to be a prison for us, for our captivity. This is Baruch chapter 3, verse 8. Behold, we are yet this day in our captivity, where thou hast scattered us for a reproach and a curse, and to be subject to payments, according to all the iniquities of our fathers, which departed from the Lord our power. So listen, anywhere we're at, particularly here in America, we're in captivity, right? And we're reproached, we're scattered, right? And we're cursed, right? Not we are cursed, but it says you're a reproach and a curse. And to be what? Subject to payments. This is the reason why even you going to work, paying your bills, guess what? That's captivity. You're paying for things that the Lord set up for us to have for free, right? Because it's a part of our entitlement, our God-given rights, which they don't believe in that here, right? So not only are you in captivity through the prison system, you're in captivity through the payment system, which we're going to get into that in a second. You're in captivity to the heathens that you live around, because you got to be in their system. So you're not free. None of us are free. Did you get that precept about why trimmest thy way to seek love? The water, bro. You got
the book of Jeremiah 2 and verse 33 says, "Why trimmest thou thy way to seek love? Therefore hast thou also taught the wicked ones thy ways."
There it is. And what you're doing is you basically negating our captivity to seek love. You got the leaders, the so-called leaders of our people, which they're not leading you. This dude, he's following the so-called white man. He's a non-threatening black man, so-called black man. He's not even black, skin's brown. They want you to be non-threatening, right? Because he wasn't one of those 1 in 6, 1 in 3? I'm sorry. He wasn't one of those 1 in 3 so-called 1 in 6, 1 in 3 so-called black boys put in prison, right? He wasn't one of them. 1 in 3. 1 in 3, bro. So you count 3 black men, somebody has experience with the prison system. And you count 16, you count 6 Latino boys. One of them dudes done been in and out of the system or had a run-in with the system. But you gotta search hard and wide for an Edomite that went to prison 17. I gotta go through 17 Edomites just to find one, and they run the biggest gang in the prison system in America. The white supremacist groups up in prisons. Edomites commit some of the most heinous crimes, but yet they're sentenced. They never in prison. Sentencing. Well, that's why. Real quick, Psalms chapter 73. Thought I pulled it up. Psalm 73. I'm slacking, brother. You have something?
No.
Now, this is the book of Psalm 73, verse verse 8. I saw that 7. I saw that 4. For there are no bands in their death, but their strength is firm. They are not in trouble as other men. We just read it. Because they're not in trouble like us when they get into the system, neither are they plagued. Because what happens? Even when you get into the system, say you're guilty or innocent, you're already there's a stigma on you because of what you look like and your so-called nationality or ethnicity in this world. So even by then, there are already racial biases playing against you before they even hear your side of the story. You know?
Trump's ex spiritual advisor, that motherfucker got caught on molesting girls and shit, and he only served like 6 months in prison.
3 months. He only did half of that.
And what happened with the Central Park Jakes?
Oh yeah,
that was supposedly raped the woman.
Yeah, Central Park 5
years, man. Like,
yeah.
the fuck?
And they incurred more crimes because they were inside a penal system and they were being accosted and fucked over, and they had to wait to get out. And then Trump said he wanted them to be executed, and they didn't have nothing to do with it. The real killer of the Central Park jogger, right? Well, she was a liar too, but she came out and said that she lied, but she didn't take it back.
And she didn't serve prison.
Nothing. They're not in trouble like other men. Neither are they plagued like other men. Therefore, pride compasses them about as a chain. Violence covers them as a garment. Their eyes stand out with fatness. They have more than their heart could wish. They are corrupt and speak wickedly concerning oppression. And you reading some of this. This is wickedly concerning oppression. It's corrupt. The system is not balanced, not just. You overly incarcerate the Lord's people because you want them in complete slavery. And once you behind bars, you belong to the state or the federal government now. So you're nothing but a number. You're not in who you were when you walked in. You're not even regarded as your social security number. You got a prison number. And this is what they want to do in the new system. Right? This time they want everybody in prison.
All that these people have in mind is the goal to create a one world government run by the banking industry, run by the bankers, and they're doing it in sections. The European currency, the euro, and the European Constitution is one part of it. Now they're trying to do it in America with the North American Union, right? And they want to create a new currency called the Amero, right? And the whole agenda is to create a one world government where everybody has an RFID chip implanted in them. All money is to be in those chips, right? There'll be no more cash. And this is getting me straight from Rockefeller himself. This is what they want to accomplish. And all money will be in your chips. And so instead of having cash, anytime you have money in your chip, they can take out whatever they want to take out whenever they want to. If they say you owe us this much money in taxes, they just deduct it out of your chip digitally.
Total control.
Total control, and that's what they want. And they're going to start this. Read Revelation 13 and 16.
Revelation 13 and verse 16. And it reads, "And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name."
There it is. So it don't matter if you locked up or free. It don't matter if you in the military or not, famous, poor, infamous. This is what they want. They want to destroy you. 13 and 16. Right? I'm just looking up this word real quick. For not word, the different Bibles. In the AMP. NLT, it says he required everyone, small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, free and slave, free and slave. Prison system is slavery, man. To be given a mark on a right hand or on a forehead. Also, he compels, in the AMP, also he compels the small and the great, the rich and the poor, the free man and the slaves to be given a mark on their right hand or on their forehead, signifying allegiance to the beast. Right? See, and this is what they want. So we still in the system of slavery. Right? Just because it's not chattel, don't mean that it ain't slavery. We still locked up. We still here. We ain't free. We ain't free at all. Right? We only free in Yahweh Shai. Right? Because we in the truth. You got something, brother?
Well, I wrote, when can we expect a total digital economic ledger? And it says, a comprehensive global total digital economic ledger, often conceptualized as a unified blockchain base or a tokenized infrastructure, is not expected as a single sudden event, but rather a transitional shift likely to reach a critical inflection point between 2026 and 2030. So we're there, we're at the point where ESO is already, putting this in legislation, the adoption of the digital world is already happening real time, man. The tokenization of assets, everything is gonna be digitalized, man. Right?
Yep.
There was a point I wanted to make here too. It gives a key trends. It says a massive digital growth, shift to tokenization. It says tokenization is shifting from pilots to production scale infrastructure, with plans for more assets to move onto the shared ledger system. Institutionalized adoption. So 2026 to 2030 period is expected to be a golden era for the digital asset adoption, driven by debt pressures, demand for alternatives to traditional finance, and improved regulatory clarity. And yeah, man, this is where we're heading. That digital slavery. Even though Jake is, more into that captivity now. Well, ESO wants to make everybody a slave through what? Through the digital system, man. And this is what we're seeing happen.
Yep. And so again, slavery exists, man. I want to get this from off the comment board. There's a couple brothers putting up a lot of information. Let me see. A lot. Digital redlining. Digital redlining is a discriminatory practice where internet service providers, ISPs, and technology companies underinvest in or exclude low-income minority neighborhoods for high-speed, reliable, and affordable broadband. It mirrors historic housing redlining, restricting access to digital tools necessary for education, healthcare, and employment. Why? Because they don't want you to be, educated on anything, right? Hey, I remember one time I was in the ghetto and I was listening to Pandora. It never happened to me. No, I used to listen to Pandora here all the time, and I went back to Philadelphia, and I was listening to Pandora, and they cut my Pandora off, bro, and I was paying for it. They said I listened to 4 hours of music already, so I can't listen to 2 no more because of my location. So I was in the ghetto, so they limited me listening to music. I don't know if they still have it, but I've never seen it before. I was I'm playing the music all damn day. And that never happened. But when you go to the ghetto, these restrictions happen, right? Internet is always going out. Cable is always going out. You're like, what the fuck's going on? People are like, damn, the cable's off again. Wait a minute, I paid the bill. What's going on? Because when you live in these so-called, when they say underserved or undereducated or underemployed, those are just different words for Black, Latino, Native Americans, bro. And they don't even talk about GAD because they ain't even got this on their plantations. It says the term redline originated in the 1930s when the U.S. federal government Homeowners Loan Corporation created residential security maps for hundreds of cities. It says the red areas, neighborhoods with high concentration of racial ethnic minorities, particularly Black Americans, were outlined in red, deemed as what? hazardous and declining. But they was declining on purpose. White flight, y'all took all wealth. You didn't want to live next to Jake. But Jake was being pushed into these densely populated areas. And they said it's hazardous, which when you do go to some of these neighborhoods, it is hazardous, but it happened over time. It wasn't an overnight thing. And now Jake is on autopilot with the wickedness. So it had you thinking that like, oh, this is how they all be. But you Edomite set it up this way. You make the system set up like this. You make destruction accessible to our people via your witchcraft, which is your music, your media industry, right? Your education system, right? Then you put guns, literally you put guns in neighborhoods, in trucks, and drugs. I mean, you dump tons of drugs on Jake, anything to keep Jake at a low vibrational state, right? And then you call our neighborhoods hazardous. There used to be another word, it began with a D. It was what would they call it? No, blighted. Blighted. They used to call it your neighborhood blighted, and that's when the white folks know that ain't no money down there. Now they gentrifying it, and rates are going up. They building all this brand new luxury apartments and shit. Niggas ain't living in luxury apartments like that, not in mass. You know, and they know that. So it says urban project segregation in the U.S. was deliberate 20th century government policy using redlining and urban renewal to concentrate people of color in dense, under-resourced public housing. You see, because public housing was set up for the wives of service members in the 1940s. So a lot of these projects that was here from that time, a lot of them are knocked down now. They house Edomites, and then FHA loans came out after World War II, and then everybody started getting houses except Negroes. You couldn't get no house, you couldn't even get no loan. And it's the same thing now. It's tough to get a loan now to buy a house, and we're in a buyer's market. You have something, Zaquan?
Habakkuk 2:15 says, "Woe unto him that giveth his neighbor drink."
Oh, let me put it on screen. You got it.
Habakkuk 2:15. Woe unto him that giveth his neighbor drink, that putteth that bottle to him, and maketh him drunken also, that thou mayest look on their nakedness.
And that's what they do. They set it up so that they'll keep you going off so they can look on your nakedness. What is your nakedness? Your sins and your iniquities. And why do they do that? Because the scripture says this in the book of Revelation. The book of Revelation, I thought I had this too. Salakia. Yeah, it's in 12, Revelation 12 and 10. This is Revelation 12 and 10. And I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, now has come salvation and strength in the kingdom of our power, in the power of his anointed. For the accuser of our brethren, who is the accuser? Esau, Edom, right? Of our brethren is cast down, which accused them before in the Most High day and night. So you have this man, this accuser, right? These warlocks and witches and high-level priests on the left-hand side, they actually go to Yahweh and say, look at your people. Like, look how your people act. Look at what they're doing. They're killing each other, they're sodomites, they're whores, they're rebellious, right? They're thieves, they're liars. What do you say? But you put all that in the hood, you make that shit glamorous. They make killing somebody like it's just going to the store. Right? You look at all these movies and all you see is guns and blazing. Then you see these videos, guns and blazing. Then you see the streets, guns and blazing. Right? You see this shit and then you like wonder why is this happening? Well, these niggas are hypnotized with sin. Esau put it on Jake to hypnotize him with the sin and iniquity, and Jake give into it, and they go for it. Right?
Esau always portrays Jake as the villain, the gangsters, the drug lords. They never exalt Jake in there. And, well, obviously they control the entertainment industry, but they'll never have Jake as a role where he's the wise man. I mean, they have it here and there, but not. They're always the villain. The gangster, the ones that's committing wickedness all the time. And
niggas like them, just like when Tony Montana came out in that movie. I forget the name of Scarface. Yeah. Niggas wanted to be Scarface. Niggas wanted to have a mountain of cocaine, the baddest women, a big ass house, saying the world is yours. Niggas had the Scarface poster in their room, right? Looking at the poster, you know, and this nigga's acting. This Al Pacino, he's acting. Like this nigga's acting, but you know, whatever. You know what I'm saying? This man, it's the devil, man. He's Satan. Right? And you wonder what makes him Satan. This is the adversary. He's an adversary. That's what that word Satan means. Right? The accuser. I want to go this word. That word there is kategorio.
Strong's G 2723. Categorio. Categorio.
Yep, which is to accuse before a judge to make accusations. And that's what Esau is doing. He's making accusations against us to the Most High. But guess what? He's going to be taken down. Yes, son, bro. Yeah, this man's going to be taken down. So, yeah, man, I came across this topic and I was like, yo, man, nigga, what you talking about, man? What you talking about, Willis? Right? Slavery is over. Jim Crow is dead. Neither one of these things are factually true. It's just by a different name. And just because it's by a different name don't mean that it's not still here, because it is. Redlining is nothing but segregation. Densely populated areas where only Negroes and Latinos stay at is nothing but segregation. The separate but equal Brown versus Board of Education. There's nothing equal about the education system in America. It's highly restricted, and highly biased, highly racially charged. And these Edomites, even if they're not smart, you know, because according to them, Edomites have the high IQs. The so-called white man has a high IQ, in which they don't. It's a cap. But, you know, it's because they're well-funded. That's all. And this is a well-funded space to be a slave. You got the majority class, and you got the underclass, and then you got the upper class. That's what you have, right? And America is separated in that system. And just because one Negro pops up above the rest, this nigga was propped up. You don't become a politician unless somebody get behind you, including the small hats, which he was defending the small hats, right? The white man had to get behind this nigga, and he had to be as less threatening as possible and goofy, right? He had to let this nigga hit the nigga. You can tell he shaves his beard off. I can see the outline of his beard right here. He shaves all that off, and he shaves his head because he might got the George Jefferson going on, and he thinks that's sexy. Right? Oh yeah, I'm getting up. I'm going out. Good job. Right? But nigga, you a slave, nigga. You got anything else, brother? Hey, so with that, man, we hope you're edified. We're gonna give all praises, honor, and glory. Salakia. I think I might have X'd out. Oh no. Okay, again, we want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Karakudash. Want to say and give double honor to the apostles and the bishop elders of Great Millstone for teaching his word in truth and sincerity, and for ruling well, and salutation to the elect. Keep pushing, keep striving. And we're almost out of here. Hey, shalom, brothers. Shalom.